After getting out of the taxi, Cheryl noticed the rain outside was still drizzling. In the community, it was dark, with only warm lights shining from the residential buildings in the distance. After getting wet in the rain, Cheryl felt dizzy and cold with her stomach churning. The house was empty, devoid of any sense of home. It's okay, Cheryl thought. She still had them. Cheryl opened the suitcase and took out the items inside one by one. The items related to Chibi Maruko-chan had been damaged, and even the princess dresses were wet. Cheryl did not cry when she learned of the diagnosis, nor did she cry when Cheney kicked her out. But now she could not control herself anymore. Cheryl curled up on the sofa, tears flowing like a bursting flood. Cheryl always greedily wanted to hold on to the warmth around her, but in the end, Cheryl struggled in vain. Cheryl still vividly remembered the sympathetic look from the doctor. Cheryl, spend more time with your family, do what you want to do, and don't have any regrets, the doctor had said. But Cheryl had long lost her family. In Cheryl's life after the age of 10, only regrets remained. In a half-awake state, Cheryl's stomach hurt uncomfortably. Before Cheryl could even run to the bathroom, Cheryl vomited a mouthful of blood. The bright red blood stung Cheryl's nerves, reminiscent of the car accident from years ago. Back then, Cheryl and her brother Thomas were protected by their parents, surrounded by a sea of bright red blood. Their parents had long been silent. Cheryl felt scared and cried loudly. Thomas tightly held Cheryl's hand and said, "Cheryl, brother is still here, don't be afraid." Thomas sang to Cheryl and told her stories. After being rescued, Cheryl still held Thomas's hand tightly and followed him closely. Thomas's leg was injured, but he still gave his hospital bed to Cheryl to sleep on, even while he was on the drip. Jacob sat aside and accompanied Cheryl. How did Jacob, who used to take care of Cheryl so much, disappear in the following years? The blood awakened Cheryl's terrible memories. The strong facade Cheryl put on during the day collapsed in an instant. Cheryl trembled as she picked up her phone, hoping to find some comfort. The phone was answered, but it was Winnie's voice that came through.
"Cheryl, please, can you stop bothering Jacob? You caused him to lose his parents, but you can't help him with anything."
"Can you please stop causing him trouble?" Cheryl stood still, stunned, as the phone was hung up at some point. It turned out that in Cheney's heart, Cheryl was just a troublemaker, a harmful person. Cheryl used to be the baby Cheney held in his hands. Cheney gave Cheryl her name, saying that he would treat her well for a lifetime. Feeling alternately hot and cold, Cheryl's consciousness became a bit hazy, and she fell onto the sofa. In a daze, a familiar figure broke in and anxiously and gently picked Cheryl up. Cheney's embrace was so warm. A deep and pleasant voice sounded in Cheryl's ear. Cheryl, wake up, little dear. The sun is shining on your butt." Cheryl struggled to open her eyes, only to see the cold rental room. The conspicuous blood on the floor and the tightly closed door reminded Cheryl that everything just now was a dream. It was just a dream made by a dying, lonely person. The day had already dawned. Cheryl touched her forehead, and it was still very hot. Cheryl went to the hospital with a stiff body and was scolded by Dr. Anderson. "With your body, you dare to get caught in the rain. Do you still want to live?" Although Dr. Anderson had a stern face, Cheryl felt the long-lost warmth. The doctor instructed Cheryl to stay in the hospital for 2 days for observation. When Cheryl went to complete the admission procedures, she coincidentally encountered Cheney. Although Cheney was wearing a mask, Cheryl recognized him at a glance. Cheney also noticed Cheryl, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes.